Remember drive-ins, you used to pull up and the car hops would come out? Well, he pulled around the side, we walked in and sat at the one of the three tables that was in this place. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a grown man cry that wasn't at a family funeral. You see, my income meant Jim's income, and he admitted to me that he'd just seen the worst sales call he'd ever seen in his entire life. And he wanted me to see the regional manager on Monday morning. Can you imagine what my weekend was like? You know, I was thinking all the worst things that could possibly happen. I'd just gotten this job. I really needed this job, and I'm about to lose this job. And I go in, and instead of the pink slip behind door number 2 was an opportunity to take the Dale Carnegie sales course. So I took the Dale Carnegie sales course, and it was a good thing because while I was there in that process, I had learned to be a star salesman. Now here's what a star salesman does. He starts with his first call up here in North Dallas, and the next call he plans is down in Garland somewhere, and then it's over in Irving. And are you kind of following me along here? As long as I can get a great distance between calls, I'm hopeful that somebody won't be there when I show up. So I'm not really looking forward to all this, but there was a lesson that they taught me in the Dale Carnegie sales course. If you're going to overcome this call reluctance, and you know, Jeff has been talking to us about call reluctance. He's been telling us about our reluctance to call the media and talk to them. And there's no difference between that and the call reluctance you have when you're talking to a client. It's the same thing. So here was the trick they taught me to overcome call reluctance. I just had to talk myself out of it. Okay, so it's August. It's hotter than blazes. I'm sitting on the side of a filling station that runs a tow truck service. And it's more about that tow truck service than it is anything else. And I'm there to sell them some two-way radio. Well, this filling station, like a lot of them at that time, had the Mylar on the windows, you know, to reflect the heat. And I'm outside in the biggest yellow Ford Motorola could afford, and I'm pounding on the steering wheel going, this is going to be the best call I ever made. This is going to be the best call I ever made. I'm rocking that Ford. It took me about 10 minutes to convince myself I had enough courage to get out into the heat and walk into the front door of this filling station. And I walked in to find 3 men in overalls curling on the floor, laughing about to have an accident. I don't believe I've ever seen anybody laugh so hard. They were holding their sides. They were crying. They had watched the whole thing through the window. And I was crushed. But I got over it. And I got over it. But I got to wondering, why was I so afraid to make a sales call? How many of you in here got a mother? Let me see your hands. Okay, so we got something in common. See if you can help me finish this sentence. These I call mom rules. Okay? Children should be seen and not heard. You want to look how before you cross the street? Oh. And what's the biggest admonition our parents have for us? Don't talk to strangers. And so we go get a job in sales, and our sales manager says, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to go out and talk to strangers and be heard a lot. Now that's a pretty large conflict in and of itself. So what I discovered is that if we're going to be successful at sales, that we've got to overcome that. And I also learned a lesson from a friend of mine, my little robot. And here's what I learned. I have a little robot that goes around with me. I tell him what I'm thinking. I tell him what I see. At first, my little robot followed my command. But after years of training, he's gotten out of hand. Now, no matter what I say or do, My little robot tells me what to do. I'm wondering what your little robot's keeping you from accomplishing. What have you been talking to it about? What's it been telling you you can't do? Well, as a salesperson, we'd like to collect yeses. But in truth, we all know that we have to be no collectors. That we really need more no's than we do yeses. And haven't Jeff and Scott and everyone who's been here before me told you that you're going to collect a lot of no's? Do you remember Jeff's analogy with the bubbles? Just imagine all those bubbles are no's. You got to collect a lot of no's to get there. So how are you going to overcome that? Here's my answer. Catch. Folks, we got some more for everybody out here. Here's the deal. I learned at the bottom of every bag of M&Ms, and I put a bag of M&Ms in my pocket, and I'd start my day. And every time I got a no, I'd use M&Ms. I rewarded myself for collecting those. Okay? And you're going to get an opportunity to reward yourself to start collecting no's. Because at the bottom of every bag was a yes. And that was my continuing drive to keep going. You see how many yeses I got? I did well. So we got to be no collectors, and I'm giving you an opportunity to do that. We've heard Sharon and others tell us about their successes, about giving. And sales is about giving. Your careers are about giving. Ziegler told us that if you want to help enough other people, you help enough other people get what they want, you get what you want. And haven't we heard that message over and over and over again from you? And how true it is. And Viktor Frankl, who is one of the fathers of modern psychology, sort of sums it up like this. And this is sort of a little thing that you can walk out of here with, carry with you. If it's going to be, it's up to me. Now, besides your M&Ms, if you can say to that to yourself, and I want to hear it from you, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Come on. If it's going to be, it's up to me. That's right. You're the only person standing between you and the success you want. And there's one more lesson that we've learned from this stage that I want to reinforce for you. And it goes like this. If you see Jim Jones through Jim Jones' eyes, you sell Jim Jones what Jim Jones buys. All right? All the guys stand up and repeat with me. If you see Jim Jones through Jim Jones' eyes, come on, stand up. You're about to leave anyway. You need to stretch. Let me hear it. If you see Jim Jones through Jim Jones' eyes, you sell Jim Jones what Jim Jones buys. Okay, guys, girls, it's your turn. There's more of you in here. I want to hear this. I want you to let them have it. All right. If you see Jim Jones through Jim Jones' eyes, you sell Jim Jones what Jim Jones buys. Everybody on your feet. We're about ready to leave. Let's have some fun. If you see Jim Jones through Jim Jones' eyes, you sell Jim Jones what Jim Jones buys. Go out and sell something to somebody. Have a great time. Thank you.